All right, so we're going to talk about Platyhelminthes and Rotifers. Platyhelminthes are flatworms. They are called such. Why? Not trying to trick you people. That is correct. They are flat. That's how you can determine a flatworm. These, even though they're flat, they were the very first group of organisms to develop 3 distinct cell layers: an endoderm, an ectoderm, and a mesoderm. The reason they are flat is because they lack lungs. They need to diffuse oxygen across their body. So you guys have this amazing circulatory system. Again, you are a series of tubes that moves blood through your body that's carrying oxygen. So that every part of your body can get oxygen equally. These guys don't have anything like that. They need to diffuse oxygen, which means that the cells that are closest to the environment are going to get more oxygen than those that are farther away from the environment. To minimize distance from any given cell to the environment, you're flat. Flatworms also were the first group to have distinct heads. Check it out. You look at this and you automatically think, it's a head. Humans have this cool thing that we do where we can put a face onto anything. You look at this and you're like, oh look, 2 eyes. Must have a mouth over there too. That's cephalization. Free-living flatworms that live in marine environments, so water environments, are called planarians. Looks kind of dopey there. Again, eye spots, these are only good, they can't see things like you can see. They're only good for determining light and dark. That tends to head toward dark whenever it can. The fun fact is you can cut them in any direction and they will regrow. They will regenerate. You cut the head off, now you have 2 of them. You cut it into 3 different pieces, now you have 3 of them. Chop it up all sorts of ways and they will constantly regenerate. There are ways of killing them that involve tonicity, salt water, changing the salt. Obviously fire will kill them. If you were to take, and this is to me super fun and weird, if you were to take a flatworm, a planarian, and cut it part way down the center, it would regrow and have 2 heads. If you were to cut it then, those heads into many different ones, you end up creating this Hydra-like creature. Each head's independent. They want to move in different ways. This particular type of planarian is a giant planarian. It has recently been found in Midlothian. It's poisonous. Don't pick it up and play with it. Well, it's not poison. It's toxic. So you don't want to touch it. Yes? It's not a worm. It's a flatworm. Planarian, yeah.
How big are they and can you keep them as pets?
You probably don't want to, but I think these guys grow to about 11 inches.
That's pet size.
That's totally pet-sized. Right. Another group of Platyhelminthes are the Primatodes. These are human internal parasites. Basically, they've got a really complex life cycle that involves living in a fish for a little while, living in a snail, and then living in a human. We don't have much of this in the United States because we have fresh water coming into our houses. But if you were to get water from a nation that didn't have internal plumbing, for instance, you'd run the risk of getting these internal parasites. So here's the basic life cycle of a trematode. So you have an egg that hatches and is taken in by a snail. The snail produces these cochlea, which is sort of a male and female form, that go into the fish. The fish, these guys meet in the fish, and then the human eats the fish, an undercooked fish, say, or drinks the water. The human then will end up with the parasite inside of it. The parasite will migrate to the human's muscles, begin to eat away at muscle, lay its eggs. The eggs will then pass through the bloodstream into, say, the kidneys. Eventually they'll get excreted, and then the process begins again. Yes? Yeah, should we deworm ourselves here? Only if you're drinking water directly out of a natural source. So say you go down to the pond and get a glass of water. Most of us don't do that. We have filtration systems here that are fine. So we don't necessarily need to worry about that. You could have symptoms, especially if you were to have gone to another country where you don't have the same structures that we have here. Then you would definitely consider being dewormed or getting some antiparasitic medication. And that's where it comes down to a good story. Sidebar. So, long time ago, I was not married. I was dating a girl. And this girl, I was totally head over heels for this girl. I was in high school, so I was like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing, and this is the right girl. You guys may have had a relationship similar. It's like super high rush on feelings. She and I were together for about a year and a half. She was way, way out of my league. There was no reason for this girl to have dated me. And then I went to college. She didn't go to college, so I went away to college. I had like her picture up in my dorm room. People were like, yeah, no, you're not dating her. Well, then I came back from college, and I surprised her at her house. Right, that's the mistake. So I brought her some flowers. I went to her door, and I was like, I peeked inside, and she was in there with another guy. And so I just like laid the flowers on the door, and I walked away. A few months later, of course, then she's like, oh, yeah, we're breaking up. And I was like, you think? And then a few months later, she got married, like to that guy. Whoa. I know, it went quick, super quick. Well, people are weird. So she got married to this guy. She found religion with him. And then, right, no, seriously, guys, I dodged a bullet, I know. So she found, but they got married and he went on a mission trip. He went over to another country. And he went on this trip, did good things, I guess, but he was in a country, a sub-Saharan country. And there was probably some issues with parasites. He came back, life was good, they ended up having some kids, yay them. I got invited to the wedding. If you, I know, right? Like if you don't invite like an ex to your wedding. That's just mean.
See, but I want to because mine.
Yeah, maybe that's why she did it to me. No, of course I wasn't. Anyways, a few years later, he gets sick. He gets really sick. Nobody can figure out what's wrong with him. Her mom's freaking out. Her mom loved me, by the way, so she still talked to me. And this guy's really sick. Nobody can figure out what's going on with him. And her mom and I were talking. I was like, yeah, it sounds like he's got parasites. Like, she said, yeah, right? He's got all these symptoms. Went to the doctor. The doctor's like, no way, it can't be parasites. He hasn't been out of the country, except for that mission trip. Well, he is on the verge of death. And they finally realize that he is filled with Primatodes that are laying eggs, they killed his kidney. Like basically his kidneys were dead, filled with trematode eggs. They couldn't process them well enough. The guy's on his way out. She's got 3 kids with him. She doesn't have a job. And it went downhill really fast. Well, they found the issue, so they were able to give him medication. Too late. His kidneys shut down, he died. So moral of the story is don't cheat. Right?
The other moral is don't go on missions.
Right. These are the specific type of parasite that he had were schistomas. They were these they're flatworms that they're Platyhelminthes that survive in the blood. They grow to about 1 inch long. Think about that, 1 inch in your blood vessels. Then their eggs end up blocking your internal organs. Fun. All right, that's cool. Tapeworms. Tapeworms you've probably heard. You guys heard of tapeworms before? People are like, oh, that kid's got a tapeworm. That's a really funny joke to talk about with people. Tapeworms are parasites. They use these hooks on their heads to hold on to your intestinal linings. What? Sort of. They don't actually suck blood out of you. What they do is they're going to hold onto your intestinal lining, and as food passes by them that would normally be going to you for nutrients, their body would absorb it, and they use it to grow longer and longer and longer. So as it's growing, it's going to continually shed little pieces of itself that are going to develop into thousands of eggs. So it gets longer and longer, and then it's like, oh, you know, we're going to lose that end piece. It's got all these eggs in it that get excreted in your feces. The longest recorded tapeworm removed from a human was 18 meters long. 18 meters, not 18 feet, 18 meters. So if we were to take it from the ground of this building all the way up to the roof, that actually be taller than that too. Yeah, because it loops back and forth throughout your small intestine.
How does somebody not notice that?
Well, they do notice it when they can't gain any weight ever. The longest recorded tapeworm ever recovered was 120 meters out of a sperm whale. That's longer than a football field of a tapeworm, right? Crazy. So tapeworms used to be, back in the Victorian age, they were a diet fad. Actually, even after the Victorian age, you could purchase these from the back of magazines and I think in like early comic books. If you wanted to lose weight, you would swallow some tapeworm eggs, the tapeworm would grow, you could eat whatever you wanted, the tapeworm would take the nutrients, and then, like you said, you would take a pill, and you would then sit on the toilet for a while as the tapeworm was expelled. There you go. I know. Welcome to biology. Yes? Can you, hypothetically, if you wanted to, you cannot purchase them legally in the United States. But you know, Etsy has so much stuff on it. You don't want these, though, produced homegrown, I guess, because there's only one real good way to get the eggs out of somebody's. Never mind. Yeah. Next organism. These are a little bit nicer. You guys don't have as many issues with these. Rotifers. They have these. So this is a rotifer. It's got a ciliated head. So it's got cilia on its head that are flapping to bring food into its digestive system. Now here's where the rotifer is so important to animal development. The rotifer was the first set of organisms that not only had a mouth, but also had an anus. So no longer are we taking in food and excreting it from the same orifice. It's going in one and going all the way through to the other end. Also, it's got toes. I think that's so cute. It holds on to, it's got a foot with 2 toes that it uses to hold on to the ground. So there we go, flatworms and rotifers. Questions?